Right. Good morning, everyone. So we start our second day of the Forming workshop. Um, as you know, it's a special edition under the umbrella of OntoCommons project. So we start the second day with an introduction of OntoCommons ecosystem, and also we'll provide our draft version of OntoCommons roadmap in order to collect your feedback. And then we'll have a keynote speech by Elisa Kendall. So let's start with a quick reminder about OntoCommons objective. So OntoCommons is a little bit different because all what we are doing in this project is driven by the community. It's not our opinions, but is the opinion that we are collecting and we are discussing with the community. So it's built on the stakeholders' feedbacks, people from ontology domain, from industrial domain, from materials. So the idea is to work together in order to provide what we call this ontology commons ecosystem in order to be used for data documentation, for data sharing and valorization in industry in order to resolve interoperability problems. So we have three main, let's say, objectives in the project. So the first one is the community building. So as a community support action, what we are trying to do is to build a big network of stakeholders in order to have, let's say, two ways collaboration from the project to the stakeholders and from stakeholders to the project. Second objective is to build this, what we call the ecosystem, that will include a hierarchy of ontologies, a set of tools and specification that will be shared with the community in order to resolve interoperability problems in the ontologies area. And the third objective is to demonstrate the effectiveness of this ecosystem with different industrial demonstrators. So in the project, we had a first set of 11 industrial demonstrators, and then we did an open call for industrials, and now we have 22 demonstrators. So the idea is to show this effectiveness of the OCHES and how can it work in different domains. And the main objective is to show the cross-domain interoperability. And this is the main objective of those demonstrators. So for the ecosystem, as I said, there is a hierarchy of networked ontologies from the top level to the application level. So our focus is on what we call the top reference ontology, on which we let's say we adopted a let's say an open approach by adopting different top-level ontologies. So the three main top-level ontologies that we adopted are BAFO, Dolce, and Emo. And it's really open to other top-level ontologies in order to define an alignment between them, in order to develop this top reference. Then we are working on the mid-level and domain level, and application level will be on the demonstrators phase. The set of tools and methodologies, so it will cover, let's say, all the activities of ontology development. So like editors, like visualization, all those tools. So it will be based on the state of the art. So we are not developing a new tool, but we base those set of tools and methodologies on the state of the art. And the set of specification for ontologies, it will provide, let's say, a compatibility between tools and ontologies. So a set of requirements and specification guidelines when developing ontologies. So one of the most important activities in the project is ontologies harmonization. So on this part of the hierarchy of ontologies, our work focuses on harmonizing ontologies on different levels. So, and we are tackling this problem on different levels. When it is possible to do it on syntactic, we do it. Terminology, we do it. If it is possible on semantic level, we are doing it. And also on formatting. So this is not a big issue, but more difficulties are on the semantic level. So, and as I said, we adopted a pluralistic approach in order to be open by using different top-level ontologies. So as I said, so we have the three top-level ontologies, and then we have this meta level on which we are doing the alignment. So the first level of alignment is terminological one, but also we are trying to do the semantic one on the logical level. And the first outcome of that, we developed a logical alignment between Bafo and Dolce. So then the idea is to ensure what we call intra and cross ontology interoperability. So the first one is to ensure interoperability under the branch of the same top level. So as you can see on the domain level, if we are working, for example, under Dolce, in the same domain, how we can align all ontologies under Dolce in the domain level, and then the cross or intra cross ontology interoperability is how to align through the meta level ontology domain ontologies under different branches. So if I have a maintenance ontology under Bafo and a maintenance ontology under Dolce, how we can make them interoperable, how we can align them. This is the focus of OntoCommons on the alignment phase. Let me give an example here. So this is our hierarchy, the top reference. So the top reference is, let's say, importing the different top-level ontologies, as you can see here. So we have Bafo, Dolce, and then on the meta level, we have the alignments. So here we have alignment Dolce Bafo, Dolce Amo, Bafo Amo, and all of that is the top reference ontology. The top reference ontology will include a set of concepts, and it will be used by this meta-reference ontology that mid-level ontology, sorry. And the idea here, for example, if we take KB ontology, so how we can, for example, atom is defined in KB. Atom is defined in other ontologies. So the idea is to create those mappings between ontologies in order to, from any top-level ontology, we can navigate between all the alignments in order to align from different ontologies. So this is the idea of the project. Now is what we collected from the community. As I said, the project is a process-oriented by consultation. So we run a lot of workshops, a lot of surveys, and we collect a lot of data from stakeholders, from you. So the first one was a survey on how ontology are used in industry. And it's amazing that, let's say 50% of people, they are convinced that interoperability is very important and data sharing and ontology can have a role on that. Another question that we asked to our panel was, do you know where to find ontologies for your field? And the problem was there. Most of people doesn't know where to find ontologies in their domain. Other question was, let's say, the adoption of semantic technologies in their companies. And as you can see, most of people say it starts to be viewed. So we have the change that it starts to move now. So this is our role in order to push of the adoption of ontologies. And most of people, they let's say, they are convinced that it's important and there is some improvement for data integration that will be ensured through that. Another point about the reusability of ontologies. So let's say all of people are convinced about modularity and reusability. And this is very important. But let's say one of the problems is how to do that. And is top-level ontology can have a role on this modularity and reusability of ontologies. So as you can see here, let's say all of people are convinced about adopt modular approach, but as you can see also the 3.4 let's say people, they say that it's good to have top level ontologies, but we will see later that this is not the case because most of existing ontologies, they are not adopting top level ontologies. Then we move to standardization. One of the most important points, because let's say industrials trust standards, and until now they are not trusting ontologies. So one of the problems is that we have different levels of standardization of domains, and also that standards, they are not well distributed. Some domains, there is a lot of standards, some domains that there is no standards. So this is a big point that highlighted by the community. Also another point that standards to be approved, to be adopted, takes a lot of time. So ontology works is mostly in the academia area, and it's funded by projects. So the duration of projects doesn't allow to go a step further in order to go to standardization. This is one of the problems that the community highlighted concerning the adoption of ontology and to standardize ontologies. Then there is another aspect also, which is, as I said, so the long term and the difficulty to reuse previous work. This is very important also, and even it's in standards. So there is a lot of standards in the same domain sometimes, and we can't reuse. I mean, some organization but standardization bodies, they don't like to reuse what others did. So this is another point. So another level of, let's say, miss of interoperability or lack of interoperability is on standards themselves. Sorry. So let's back now to domain ontology landscape. So there is, we did a big survey on existing ontologies in different domains. But the first problem that we had is, what are domains? The first thing is to classify domains, and we had a problem on that. Okay, so when we will do our survey, should we focus on, okay, physics and chemistry, this is a domain, or manufacturing, materials? So there is a lot of taxonomies already on domains. So the first thing is that we'll see later on the recommendation is to standardize domains. This is one of the big problems that we have. Then the number of ontologies is very low, and there is not the distribution, let's say, by domain is really difficult. In some domains, we didn't find any ontology. Another point that a lot of ontologies that exist, they are not machine readable. A lot of ontologies, they are in papers, in books. So we had this problem. So we tried to let's say, to analyze all of them, but we had this problem that that's amazing. Internal and process engineering, 100% are not machine readable. As you can see also, I mean, physics and chemistry, so they are machine readable, but the number of ontologies is very low. We have only 10 ontologies. This is what we find in the state of the art, on the net, everywhere. Because we haven't did a survey. We asked people from those domains. Do you know ontologies on your domains? No. And so what we collected is more than, I mean, I think it's not updated, but what we collect is around 150 ontologies and the distribution of the domains. And another point, which is the FAIR principles. So only or let's say below 50% are not fair. Fair in terms of fundable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable ontologies. Now, let's say, regarding tables, those domain ontologies, are they aligned to top-level ontologies? So also it's amazing because, as you can see, a lot of domains, they are not at all aligned to top-level ontologies, and some ones they are. And also the distribution between those top-level ontologies is different. So as you can see, for example, in physics and chemistry, 55% of those ontologies are aligned to BAFO. So the problem is, as I said, there is no alignment between BAFO and MO. So the number of ontologies is already low, but another point that those ontologies are not interoperable. So that's why we are focusing on this alignment between the top-level ones. Mechanical and industrial engineering, that's amazing. 80%, there is no tailor alignment. So it's very important part of domain in the manufacturing, but all of them, they are not allowed aligned to top-level ontologies. Computer and system electrical engineering, 67% not aligned. Material science, 62% not aligned. So there is a big miss on this aspect, and which is amazing because from the community, everybody say it's important to align to top-level ontology, but it's not done. Why? Because also a lot of people in the engineering area, they think that top-level ontologies are so complicated. Forget about it. I don't like to hear about occurrent. What is occurrent? I don't care. So what else? Here, it's just an example of the FAIR score. So we apply different methodologies, so from different projects, and as you can see, the fairness is very low. And one of the focus of OntoCommons is to push those ontologies to adopt FAIR principles. So I will show, what are the activities that you are doing on this stage in order to push ontologies to fairness. Another point is tools. So we did a survey on tools of people that are using ontologies from industry and so on. And it's amazing, as you can see, most of people are using Protege. But in the same time, most of them say, yeah, Protege, but not updated, there's a lot of problems. Okay, but you are using Protege. Yeah, because we haven't access to other tools. And this is one of the myths in the community. In terms of features, what we need, what the community needs in terms of features on those tools. And the most important thing is authoring, editing ontology. This is the first step. And this is most important thing that the community need. And another point is, let's say, on terms of gaps, what people miss is visualization. We have a problem on visualization of ontologies, and also testing and validation, and then there is integration, user experience, and so on. So a lot of myths and gaps identified by the community in terms of tools. Now, what OntoCommons is doing in order to answer to those gaps? As I said at the beginning, that in OntoCommons, we are not building new tools, but we are trying to use what exists in the community in order to answer to those gaps. So let's back to the figure about the OntoCommons ecosystem concept. So as I presented in the beginning, so we have the hierarchy of ontology, specification, tools, and data documentation, and this is what we are doing now. So what we are developing is this alignment between ontologies, entry and cross-domain interoperability. Also, we are developing a portal to find ontologies. We call industry portal. We are also collaborating with other projects on marketplaces in order to push ontology use for data sharing. So especially in the materials domain. Then we are proposing a methodology. So we adopt LOT methodology, And we are trying to customize it in order to add, let's say, what the community highlighted as lacks in the methodology itself. So there is a new version of lot methodology. By the end of project will be lot OntoCommons. Another point concerning tools. So we are using Web Protege to customize a new tool that we call Ocean. This tool will allow, collaborative work on ontology, but we will focus on visualization. This is one of the gaps. So we are working on that in order to improve visualization and also on fairness. So we are developing tools in order to use all FAIR principles to evaluate ontologies. So this is the, let's say, the progress in the project. So some work is already done, but there is still, we are on, let's say we have 18 months on the project now. So we are working on to push and to achieve our objectives by the end of the project. So here we have industry portal. So as you can see, it's a library of ontologies, and we develop new features, and other features are under development. So what OntoPortal is industry portal is providing is a recommendation of ontologies. So if, for example, you are looking at ontology for a domain, so you can go to industry portal and make your search, and there is a recommendation system, and we are trying to improve this feature. We have a mapping feature in order to map different ontologies in the portal. Also, what we added is FAIR score. So we evaluate ontology. All the ontologies in the portal are evaluated automatically, and they have a FAIR score. And we are working on to improve this feature. So this is one of the main outcomes of the project for sustainability of ontologies. Now all industrials who doesn't know before when were finding ontologies in their domain. So you have an address. So, and also ask you to post your ontology on this portal in order to have one place for all ontologies in industry. This is the lot methodology, so linked open terms ontology with different steps. So it's based on the state of the art, and it's inspired by existing methodology and Agile methodology. So we have 4 steps: requirement specification, implementation, publication, and maintenance. And as I said, we are working on details on this methodology in order to improve it and to have a customized version in OntoCommons. Here we have Ocean tool. So for OntoCommons collaborative editing and offering knowledge base or knowledge graphs, which is a customized version of Web Protege. And here, this is our, let's say, our dream is the process in which you have methodology, you have steps, and you have tools to do that. So we think that, let's say, an industrial that has a lot of data and would like to make data documentation, semantic data documentation. So there is 2 options: is to use existing one or to develop new one. So the first thing is to check if there is ontologies in his domain. So for that, we'll use recommendation system or select ontology manually through industry portal. So if already there is ontology, so he can reuse, or he can also compare this ontology. If there is a lot of ontology in his domain, so he can make a comparison. So he can compare through, for example, for the fairness, the coverage of the ontology, what include this ontology exactly. So, and then that allow to reuse, as you can see here. And so there is editing ontology collaboratively with Ocean. And then also there is possibility to do mapping, contextual mapping through industry portal, and then publish ontology. Also, there is possibility to annotate through industry portal. If we select to develop new ontology, so we will use a lot methodology and then also Ocean, and by the end we have to publish the ontology in industry portal. So what we are trying to do is to have a full methodology with tools through this OntoCommons ecosystem that standardize all the process of ontology development. So, and we try to build this with the community, with you. Now, another main output of the project is OntoCommons roadmap. What is the roadmap? So is a document that we are building for long-term strategic development of ontologies and data documentation, and will be shared with the community and with policymakers in order to highlight what is the gaps and what is the recommendation on time, and where we would like to what we would like to achieve through ontology, and to resolve bottlenecks of interoperability in the industrial domain. So we have a draft version in which we highlighted the needs that stakeholders already highlighted for us. So the first one is data integration and sharing, standardization, as I said. So also there is one of the industrial needs is to answer the various domain perspectives. In the same company, in the same division, we have different perspectives. For maintenance, you have people working for supply chain for maintenance, others for operations, others for predictive maintenance. So they have different perspectives. And this is a big need, how to conceive ontologies that can answer all those perspectives. So this is one of the big problems that that industrial highlighted. Also, the interface domain, domain ontologies with top-level ontologies. And also one of the problems is link domain expert to ontologists. So how to link people doing ontologies to domain expert, to IT guys. And this is a big miss in companies, because the feedback that we have, okay, if I would like to develop ontology, who will do that? Domain expert, IT guy, should I hire a philosopher? So this is a problem. And this is what the community highlighted. So this is what we already collected, but would like to collect more from you. So I think that there is still more needs that you can help us to identify. Then the gaps. So one of the, let's say, highlighted gap is the lack of generic and application-specific ontology. This is what we said, that there is a lot of miss in terms of ontologies. The model's granularity, and this is a big gap because we don't know where we stop. From where we start and from where we stop in terms of granularity, the coverage of the ontology. Okay, how we go deeply in the details of the ontology, who decide that? How we can identify this? So this is a big gap that the community highlighted. And then also, there is also this ontology as a conceptualization of reality or as information model. So there is, let's say, a gap in formalizing terms using by engineers in manufacturing, and how those terms are presented with also this different perspectives. So here there is a big gap. The sustainability, so maintenance of ontology, how the ontology, let's say, have a long life. Because most of ontologies are developed under projects in a small community. So after the end of the project, there is no ontology, there is nothing. And the lack of standardization, standardized method for domain ontology evaluation. One of the points also, how to evaluate the quality of ontology. How can I say, okay, my ontology is good? So there is another point here, and it's a big gap. So for that, we identified a set of recommended actions. So the first one is standardization of the ontology engineering steps. Which is the first one, is to develop ontology, but should follow a standardized method. So this is the first action that we are recommending. The TLO-MLO, so top level, mid-level alignment. So we recommend to adopt a coherent approach on alignment under a top level ontology. Also, we recommend to have a balance of theory and practice. So we need to put ontologists with domain experts in order to have this balance. The fairness, so to make domain ontology fair, so we try to push on that by making available tools and to well explain what is fairness and to convince people about fairness. Also follow domain-related standards. This is very important. A lot of people, they start to develop their ontologies and they forget about existing standards. So in the methodology, we need to follow standards. We need to adopt terms because they are accepted by industry. So we need to take this into account. Another recommendation is to classify domain, to have a standardization of domain. So one of the actions that we are doing is to align all taxonomies of domains. It's the first step we think that should be done. And also bridging the gap between domain expert and ontologists, and this is by supporting educational training activities. This is very important to, because this is one of the myths in the market. There is no, I mean, people would like to hire ontologists, but not only ontologists. Someone who has, let's say, a background in engineering, a background in computer science, and background in ontology. And this is what we miss on the market. So one of the recommendations is to bridge this gap and to develop. So this is one of the, let's say, also activities in OntoCommons is to develop the translator role, which a role that will, let's say, link the different backgrounds in a company or in ontology development project. So this is what we recommend, but also we need to collect from you other recommendations, and also what we need from you is to define priority, the timeline, which is most important. Okay, in 6 months, what are the actions? In 1 year, what are the actions? In 3 years, what are the actions? So we need to collect this from you. And for that, so you will receive an email today with a Google form in order to evaluate those recommendations, those gaps, those needs, and to make a list of priorities to recommend the timeline of actions. So this is all from my side. And thank you very much, and hope that you support us in OntoCommons. So we have time for one question. Yes, Dimitris.
Yeah, one comment. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hedi. I'm Dimitris. Here it is also involved in OntoCommons on behalf of University of Oslo. So you made a very, let's say, good comment at the beginning. So about TLOs and users, and then users, they understand nothing about TLOs and occurrence and continuance and all that stuff, or buffer and dolce, etc. So these end users or practitioners that we in our language identify as subject matter experts, SMEs, in my opinion, they should not see, should not take care about TLOs. So the subject matter experts should focus on their matter. And then it is the activity and the objective or the mission of ontologists or knowledge engineers to do this alignment between the matter entities and the TLO and the MLO entities in order to guarantee interoperability, etc. So the first objective that you have as first objective, the technical principles for ontology development, this is the first priority for me. And I think this is first priority for IOF, where I'm involved. I see Elisa, and I'd like to thank Elisa for this support from EDM to do similar things in IOF, and these two efforts should be aligned. And also this, where we are now, it's a level of maturity, so how we progress. So in our community, so the debate is still at TLOs, what TLO to use. A couple of years ago, this debate was even a fight. Now it is not a fight, but it remains a debate. And I think with the common intelligence and maturity, we will arrive to some good conclusions. So we have already a standard. BFO is ISO standard. I understand that Dolce is also candidate to become an ISO standard, and these are good things in the good direction. And I think the common objective of OntoCommons and IOF is to deliver at the end to the community, I mean to end users, standardized domain ontologies. Application ontologies is their business, so they will do it if we offer to them standards. Ontology, domain ontologies are standards, so no matter ISO or AGI or something else standard, but this is our mission, I think, of our community. So thank you very much. And just OntoCommons is a project. That means it has an end of life.
Yes.
And we have to think already what is the next step. And we have this very close collaboration with IOF. Tomorrow is IOF Day. And we have to see in a global, let's say, perspective, how we go ahead. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you, Dimitri. So we haven't enough time, but we have time to discuss in the break later and the whole days. So let me invite Elisa Campbell for the keynote speech. I'm sorry, today we have, let's say, we need to leave the room at 10 because there is class. So we need, yeah, there is class in this room later. So Elisa, a partner of Thematics Partners, she's lead ontologist in EDM Council, and she's member and board of directors